Well, thank you all very much for coming. My name is Tom Gross, and I am the supervisor of the Historic Preservation section of the Prince George's County Planning Department. It is an honor to have you all here with us for the 2023 Annual Historic Preservation Reception for Prince George's County. Yes, it deserves a round of applause. We have not done this event in person since 2019 for reasons that we all know. We sort of stumbled along virtually there for a little bit, but nothing compares to this. Nothing compares to this. So thank you all for coming. And I'm going to stop talking and turn the proceedings over to the chairman of the Prince George's County Historic Preservation Commission, John Peter Thompson.
The mic? Okay, can you hear me? Excellent, excellent. Well, it's my pleasure to welcome you to this wonderful historic place, Oxon Hill Manor. And I've got to ask, you know that it's part of the historic preservation program that we can showcase a structure like this and that we can have an event here. This is one of over 450 historic sites in Prince George's. Did you know that there are 450 plus historic sites? And I have to say, I am extraordinarily delighted to hear that there are more than 3 stakeholders for preservation. I am delighted and amazed that you all are here supporting the program. We need the friends, the collaborators, the workers, and your support. For history, culture, and heritage, to know where we're going, we have to know where we came from. And historic preservation is one of the many ways of letting us find our way into the future. If you cannot touch it, it might not really exist in this virtual world that we live in. So with that, I was hoping to be able to give a brief 40-hour history of Prince George's County, but Tom said I couldn't do that. And then Ed said no. So it is my honor and pleasure to introduce the chair of the Prince George's County Planning Commission, Peter Shapiro. And Mr. Shapiro, Peter, do you want to come up here? Because on behalf of the Historical Society, and let me be clear, there's a commission and there's a society, and they are not the same, even though they do the same things. On behalf of the society, Peter,
I'm right here,
presenting you this history of Prince George's. It is suitable for a coffee table, but the Historic Preservation Commission would like you to keep this at your hearings and use it as a reference from time to time.
Will do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, without any further ado, Mr. Shapiro.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everybody. John Peter has asked me if I can read this entire book to you. Is that a problem? No? Okay. I want to thank John Peter for the introduction and the acknowledgments. And on behalf of the Prince George's County Planning Board, the Maryland National Capital Park Planning Commission, and the many partners who made tonight's event possible, I'm excited to welcome you to the 2023 Annual Prince George's County Historic Preservation Reception in person. I'm also incredibly excited to welcome you to the beautiful, picturesque Oxon Hill Manor. I imagine it is not a first time for most of you. I imagine you have been here before, as I have many times. I actually snuck in a little bit of a tour. Got here a bit early and I walked through, and I'm just constantly amazed by this beautiful, beautiful venue. Truly a jewel, a gem for Prince George's County. And it is a wonderful way to return to this beloved event in person, to be able to do it at this site. Oxon Hill Manor is one of the Commission's 180 treasured historic properties and sites where we host programs that bring Prince George's County history to life. We are known throughout the National Capital Region. This facility is known throughout the Capital Region for its lush landscaping, its exquisite details, its incredible views, the scenic view overlooking the Potomac River, and a little bit of casino action as well. It has become a popular setting for corporate events, for weddings, for elegant celebrations. It is, again, it is truly a gem. And as stewards of the county's historical resources, we celebrate the details behind this neo-Georgian mansion that recently reopened after months of renovation. I'm just so proud to be a small part of this. The Commission committed a major investment in preservation, interpretation, and renovation efforts. The historical background, I'm going to do what John Peter couldn't do since I have the mic and give you a little bit of history. The historical background of this property dates back to the colonial era and contains the legacy of several families active in local, state, and national government, including the Addison family, who built the original mansion in 1711. The Addison family was very active in the development of Prince George's County and colonial government. In 1778, Thomas Hawkins Hanson, nephew of John Hanson, the first, quote, President of the United States in Congress assembled, under the Articles of Confederation, acquired the property through marriage. It's a good marriage to acquire this property. In the late 1920s, Sumner Wells and his wife had the existing home reconstructed. And during his career, Sumner Wells served as the Assistant Secretary of State, Ambassador to Cuba, and Undersecretary of State in President Franklin D. Roosevelt's administration. President Roosevelt visited Oxon Hill Manor on a number of occasions. There's much rich history here within our county, and the Commission is honored to collaborate with many of you throughout the years to share our legacy and invite others to learn and grow this facilities and all the other facilities that we have. My Prince George's County Planning Board colleagues and I are proud to sponsor the Prince George's County Historic Property Grant Program, a program that is, I'm sure, familiar to a number of you, and we'll hear a little bit more about that later on tonight. The program helps fund rehabilitation, restoration, preservation, and or acquisition of historic properties. Approaching its 15th year in existence, the appropriation of funding is at the highest it's been in a long time. The Commission is truly looking to put its money where its mouth is. We're also proud to partner with property owners like many of you who work diligently to preserve our heritage. A couple of weeks ago, the Planning Board issued a resolution of support of May as Preservation Month. You can see that resolution out front. This is just such an important part of the Commission, of the Planning Board, and of the county. And it is work that is successful because not just the Commission, but all the partners that we have, it's truly, it is a great example of teamwork. This marks the 50 years of the nation's annual celebration of historic preservation efforts that we're building on as well. We recognize the many benefits of all of your efforts, and these efforts will impact our current residents and, of course, future generations to come. So I thank you, and I salute you for all the work that you do. Thank you very much. I want to take just a moment to recognize some of the special guests. We're all special guests, I know. But some of the special guests that we have here, we have a number of elected officials and other honored guests who've joined us or who are en route. First and foremost, and I will introduce her a little bit with a little bit more detail before she speaks, we have Angie Rogers, who's the Deputy Chief Administrative Officer for Economic Development for the County Executive. Glad you're here, Angie. We have, I believe well, actually before that, we have a Representative Joseph Pruden, who is representing Congressman Glenn Ivey. Glad to see him here. We have, I believe that, I'm not sure if State Senator Shanti Martinez is in yet, no? But he will be here shortly. We have the Mayor of the town of Colmer Manor, Monica Casañas. We have Noah Waters, who's the Mayor of the town of Eagle Harbor. We have Emmett Jordan, the Mayor of the city of Greenbelt. We have Selena Benitez, the Mayor of the city of Mount Rainier. There's a lot of mayors here, folks. It's wonderful to see. We have Kelly Porter, the Mayor of the city of Seat Pleasant. We have Sarah Franklin, the Mayor of the town of Upper Marlboro. We have Paula Noble, the council member with the town of Forest Heights. Thomas Henchette, the Commissioner with the town of Upper Marlboro. Linda Penoyer, who is a Commissioner-elect with the town of Upper Marlboro. And then, in addition, we have Elizabeth Hughes, who is the Maryland State Historic Preservation Officer. Ms. Hughes, you are here? No? Maybe she's en route as well. And we have Eleanor Thompson, who's a commissioner with the Maryland Commission on African American History and Culture. There may be others who have joined us, and I may have missed you, but you'll mingle and we'll get to hear more as things go on. Did I miss somebody I should recognize? No? Okay, all right, good. Nice job, staff. So I'm now pleased to introduce our next speaker, who is representing Prince George's County Executive Angela D. Also-Brooks. Angie Rogers serves as the Deputy Chief Administrative Officer for Economic Development for Prince George's County. Prior to this role, Ms. Rogers served as the Chief of Staff to DC's Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development. In her current role, Ms. Rogers has worked tirelessly to ensure that Prince George's County is thriving and leading the region in inclusive housing and in economic growth. She provides leadership and oversight to various agencies focused on economic development, our parks and planning, tourism, and many, many more. She is a great leader for this county. I'm encouraging all of you to get to know her as I have. I'm inspired by her vision and her ability to implement as well. It's quite remarkable. So please help me in welcoming Angie Rogers to the podium.
Good evening, everyone. It's so great to be here with you tonight. Let me see if I can move this down to Angie height without breaking it. I think I'm good. I bring you greetings, of course, on behalf of County Executive Also-Brooks. I think she was intended to be here with you all this evening, wanted to be here, but if you've been listening to the news, you know that her time outside of her day job is a little busy these days. So you got me. As Peter said, I'm the Deputy Chief Administrative Officer for Economic Development for Prince George's County. I am responsible for the county's strategic direction as it relates to growing jobs, growing housing, growing amenities in our county. And as I like to say, I am responsible for translating our 498 square miles, that is bigger than New York and all the boroughs put together, of urban, suburban, and rural into meaningful economic development. Over the past couple of years, we have been busy setting a new sort of strategy and platform for economic development for the county. And one of the things that we have done that we haven't really done before is focus on establishing a sense of place in more places in the county. I would tell folks when I came to the county that when I was in the District of Columbia, in the Deputy Mayor's office there, I participated on our teams sort of selling DC to some of the biggest companies in the world. And people think that it's all about sort of economic incentives and what kind of cash can you pass along, to these companies to entice them to locate in your jurisdiction. And I would tell my new team in Prince George's County that it actually wasn't about that at all. It was all about the sense of place. And I am proud to be part of this conversation with you all, which I'm glad to see is robust, and I trust that we're going to dig more into it. That is all about how the work that you do as preservationists lends itself to helping us establish that sense of place in Prince George's County. It's my job to make sure that folks from around the world tune into this place, and they tune into it as a place to live, as a place to work, as a place to enjoy our amenities. And so much of that is tied to the work that you all are doing. So thank you so much for having me tonight. I am glad to be a part of this coming back together, which I understand hasn't happened in a while. So I'm very excited to be here, and I look forward to our continued conversation about place in Prince George's County. Thank you.
thank you very much, Ms. Rogers and Chair Shapiro, for those welcoming remarks. Next on the program, so one of the programs that we are proud of as part of historic preservation is our County Historic Site Plaque Program. And typically we would use this opportunity, this reception, to award plaques to property owners who request them. And of course we haven't gathered in several years, so we haven't been able to do this in a while. So it's a pleasure to present 4 properties with County Historic Site plaques this evening. And I will ask Ms. Rogers and Chair Thompson to come forward close to the flags, I think we will do. So there are 4 properties. I will read just a brief description of these 4 properties and ask the representatives, the property owners, to come forward to receive the plaque and have their photo taken. Just one moment. Okay. So just briefly, again, this plaque program is sponsored by the Office of the County Executive and the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission in cooperation with the Prince George's County Historic Preservation Commission. And the program is designed to acknowledge special efforts made by owners of historic properties and recognize their stewardship of the heritage of Prince George's County. So the first property to receive a plaque this evening is the Jones Sheridan House in Hyattsville, Historic Site 68-010-79. Built circa 1904, the Jones Sheridan House is a 2-story dwelling with a wraparound porch and semi-octagonal front elevation tower and is significant as an example of late Victorian style architecture. The Jones Sheridan House is well known for its long history as a boarding house and embodies the area's heritage theme of streetcar suburb development in the county. Unfortunately, the property owner, Mr. John Sheridan, is unable to be here this evening. We received the plaque on his behalf. I will just note that Mr. Sheridan is kind of an exemplar of the success of the Historic Property Grant Program. His property became a historic site because he was awarded a historic property grant, which he has used to great effect to restore the exterior of his house. So if you go down a certain street in Hyattsville, you will notice a house that looks remarkably better than it did just a couple of years ago. And that is due to the efforts of Mr. Sheridan and the support of the Commission and the Planning Board through the grant program. So we do receive that plaque on his behalf. The next plaque to be presented is to the Smith Israelson House in Mount Rainier, Historic Site 68-74-003. Smith Israelson House is a circa 1917 American 4-square on a corner lot with a wraparound porch. It is significant as an example of early 20th century residential architecture in the city of Mount Rainier and reflects the rapid expansion of Mount Rainier as a streetcar suburb during the first decades of the 20th century. Receiving the historic site plaque for the Smith Israelson House this evening are the property owners. I'd ask them to come forward, Sachin Kandhari and Elise Foster. And I will note as they step forward that this property was also awarded a historic property grant. Okay, next to receive a plaque is the Fairmount Heights School in Fairmount Heights, Historic Site 72-009-09. The Fairmount Heights School is a 2-story hip-roof frame school structure of institutional 4-square plan designed by noted African-American architect W. Sidney Pittman. The school opened in 1912 and was the first school in the new community of Fairmount Heights and the first in Prince George's County to offer industrial training for black students. The school was closed in 1934 and for 70 years served as the home of the Mount Zion Apostolic Faith Church. For the past several years, the property has been owned by United Communities Against Poverty Incorporated, or UCAP. And receiving the historic site plaque this evening, I haven't seen them in person, but I hope they are here, UCAP President and CEO Rashida Jameson and Deputy Director Jacqueline Moore. Great, thank you so much. And the final property receiving a plaque this evening is the Asbury Methodist Episcopal Church and Cemetery in Brandywine, Historic Site 84-014. Asbury Methodist Episcopal Church is a wood frame building constructed in 1906 and substantially rebuilt in 1958. The spired bell tower, clad in patterned wood shingles and embellished by a bracketed cornice, dates to the church's original construction. The cemetery on the property contains approximately 80 marked graves and an unknown number of unmarked graves. The Asbury Methodist Episcopal Church and Cemetery is significant as an early 20th century rural church building and for its association with one of the first African American congregations established in Prince George's County after the Civil War. Before I invite the members of the church to come forward, I just take a point of privilege. There are several ways by which a property can become a historic site in Prince George's County. One of the ways, and the way that this church became a historic site, is that it was previously known as what's called a historic resource. It had not yet been evaluated for its significance and potential designation as a historic site. The church wanted to install a new sign out front, which triggered a permitting process, which triggered an evaluation, which triggered their designation as an historic site. Now, some property owners are in it all the way, and some are not. But I am so happy that the congregation of Asbury Methodist Episcopal Church was so supportive of the designation of their property as a historic site. And it's my honor to bring forward Reverend Gladman Kapfumvudi, the pastor of the church, along with Mr. Walton Burrows, Mr. Roland Dent, and Miss Peggy Chase and Miss Pearl Chase. If you could come forward, please. Thank you all very much thank you to all of the plaque recipients. And I will just take this opportunity now to introduce our next speaker. Coming to the podium now for the next item on the agenda is the president of the Prince George's County Historical Society, Donna Schneider.
So before I present any of the St. George's Day Awards, I just wanted to give a little recap about what the Society's been up to since our last reception. The Society embarked on a photo digitization project of the thousands of photographs that we house at the Frederick DeMar Library of County History. We would like to thank the Maryland Humanities, ATHA Maryland Milestones, and the Historic Preservation Non-Capital Grant Program for their grants, and several donors who also gave us money that helped kickstart this process for us. So far, we've digitized around 3,000 photographs, and we have at least that many, if not many more, to digitize. In addition, we also received a Miller History Fund grant that allowed us to contract for an analysis of the Frederick DeMar Library. As a volunteer, all volunteer, and a donation-supported organization, we needed this analysis in order to help decide how to move forward with the library and make sure it was a useful resource for all of our users. So we'd like to thank all of our supporting parties for assisting us in moving forward. So like for the historic plaque programs, we haven't issued the St. George's Day Awards for several years for reasons we all know. So I would like to start with the St. George's Day Award for Richard Friend. Unfortunately, he cannot be with us tonight. He's receiving the St. George's Day Award for his publication, Postmark Laurel, which is about historical picture postcards that were collected by him while he was working on another publication, and he thought, oh, for a town the size of Laurel, there might only be a couple dozen photographs or postcards that they have manufactured over the years. He came away with over 125 of them. So he decided that one of the things to do was to put them into a book, so everybody could share and see them and learn about them. So we thank Richard for his endeavors. He also did it in association for the Laurel Historical Society. I'm going out a little bit out of order because another one of our awardees, William Thomas, is not able to join us tonight. And we are giving him the award for A Question of Freedom, the families who challenged slavery from the nation's founding to the Civil War. This is a prize-winning book of the longest fight and most complex legal challenge to slavery in American history. And it actually deals with several families that are here located in Prince George's County, such as the Queens, the Butlers, the Bells, and several others. And they filed hundreds of these freedom suits to get their freedom from slavery. It talks about their lawyers that took their cause all the way to the Supreme Court, and as well as the slaveholders who fought to defend slavery. The book has also been led to films, some short films that were done. One is Anna, about one woman's quest for freedom and family, and The Bell Affair, which was recently introduced to the public, about Daniel and Mary Bell, who sued for their freedom and then led one of the largest escape attempts in American history. The next award is for Jeff Krulik, and can I ask Jeff to come up here? So, let's see. So we are giving Jeff the St. George's Day Award for Tales of Bel Air at Bowie. It's a documentary that he put together. It's the story is about Bel Air of Bowie, a planned community built by Levitt and Sons in the 1960s in Bowie, Maryland. Jeff was motivated to make this film by his interest in Bowie history and also wanting to preserve it, especially the Levitt history. The film includes firsthand memories and tours of homes from original community residents, archival film footage, and photos. It all started after Jeff discovered a West German documentary that was shot in the early years of Bel Air at Bowie. The film also has a more serious side of showing the racial tensions that led to protests of Levitt's discriminatory sales practices and the challenges of building a flourishing community in what was a geographically secluded area at the time. So, Jeff, congratulations.
Sure. Thank you very much, Donna. This is great. I really do appreciate this. I've been a lifelong fan, enthusiast, if you will, of historic preservation. I'm a lifelong area resident. I grew up in Bowie. My parents are original residents, original homeowners. They're still living there on the street I grew up in, Bartlett Lane. And yeah, I just, Prince George's County, it's never, I grew up, graduated high school 79 from Bowie, went to University of Maryland, graduated in 1983. At that point, I thought Prince George's County ended at Landover Mall in the Capitol Center. But 2 weeks after graduation, I started selling cable television for Metrovision on Ritchie Road. And I learned all about the rest of the county. It was fascinating. It was on foot. I just had such a great experience doing that and learning how, you know, really what else was there from Capitol Heights to Forest Heights, Clinton, everywhere. And then I became the public access director, running that's where I got my start, and behind a camera through community television. And during that time in 1986, I made a documentary called Heavy Metal Parking Lot, which took place at the Capitol Center, which Eddie Day mentioned earlier, acknowledged that. And in fact, Richard, who I wish was here tonight, I'm working with him, Rich Friend, on a Capitol Center book to commemorate the 50th anniversary of that building, which opened in December of 1973. So look for that. And Rich is he's an incredible designer and does great work with the Laurel History Boys. Also want to acknowledge my close friend, Mark Sosnick from Greenbelt over here, who is another historian for the county who helped get me here. And also, we've worked on a lot of projects together. Anyway, I'll tell you a little more. The Bel Air, Tales of Bel Air at Bowie. Thank you for having a DVD, because right now it's available on Maryland Public Television, their website. You can stream it. They recently asked if they could renew their contract to stream it for 2 years. I said, you can have it forever, because it's a perfect place to have it available. And occasionally it shows up on Maryland Public Television, but that really is an honor. It's an honor to have this. I also, my parents do fulfillment for the DVD, so my mom made sure I brought some with me in case anybody has a DVD player still. Anyway, thanks again. Thank you, Donna. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Sure.
So the last award for the evening is for Samuel Parker. Is Sam here? No? Oh. Okay. So Sam is receiving the St. George's Day Award for his passionate commitment to historic preservation. Sam has worked tirelessly through the decades to support historic preservation. He organized help after the Van Horn Mitchell House fire. He continuously supports Bostwick House in Bladensburg. He was the chair of the county's planning commission and was a champion for the county's historic preservation grant fund. Thank you very much for that. He has made historic preservation more inclusive by expanding its reach to stakeholders not originally included, and by recognizing the contribution of the unrecognized. These are just a few of the reasons why we are giving this award to Sam, and we thank him very much for his commitment and dedication to preservation in Prince George's County.
I was really surprised to get this award, but it's much, much, much appreciated for, I think, where Prince George's County is moving, not only in the past, but in our future. My career in historic preservation actually started in Old Anacostia doing affordable renovations for affordable housing and for folks in Old Anacostia. And that led to work in Fairmount Heights, North Brentwood, Sea Pleasant. But there was one thing that became the point of what you were trying to get to. It wasn't necessarily the restoration, the renovation of a building. It was how people involved themselves in their lives about their past and what that meant for their future, their culture, their heritage. And the building became just a part of that, not the light of it. It also became the path for providing attention to it. But it's the history, the culture, where people came from, what people believe in, and what they thought of their past, that was the driving light to what I felt historic preservation should be about and will continue to be about. When Angie Rogers mentioned place, I thought not of the physical, but I thought of the people. I thought of the past history. And that has to be a guiding light as we move forward in any realm of development, any realm of historic preservation, is what does that mean for our heritage and our culture? We're being stressed at that at this point in time in our country as to how we're trying to put all that aside, that it doesn't mean anything. But it does. And its importance should be the driver. So thank you all very much.
Thank you very much, Don, and congratulations to the St. George Day awardees. Next, I'd like to bring to the podium the Executive Director of the Anacostia Trails Heritage Area Incorporated, Meg Bacco. Meg has been a steadfast partner in our efforts to promote local heritage tourism, and really a lot of the fun parts of historic preservation. So, Meg, come on up.
The fun part of preservation is events like this, so thank you very much. And thank you all for being here. It's been an incredibly Busy day for preservation. I know many of you were with me in Akakeek earlier today, so kudos for keeping the Preservation Month party going. But what I've learned in preservation is that a busy day is a good day. You're always going to meet intelligent, spirited colleagues, have a wide range of conversations. You're going to see something new. You're going to learn something new, maybe even meet somebody new. And then for extroverts like me, makes up for years behind Zoom. So thank you. But also thank you for being there for those meetings on Zoom. Preservation did not stop. We all were on those evening meetings. We were all still volunteering where we get our hands dirty and we do our gardening and cleanups and volunteering and researching. So I wanted to thank you for that as well. It certainly made a difference. And again, preservation didn't stop. When I took over this role at Anacostia Trails Heritage Area, also known as Maryland Milestones, which was spring 2021, I inherited some amazing projects that you all had done some great work on, and just want to give you a quick update on some of those we were able to cross the finish line with. So that would be last month with the support of the county's preservation assistance for municipalities and communities, PAMC. Okay, I know it better by the acronym, thank you. We were able to publish a new guidebook about wayfinding in ATHA, especially as a cultural tourism organization. That's really important. But what's also important is that it spurred a whole new, hopefully volunteer-driven idea that we need to be better stewards of the signs we've already put in the ground. We don't know where they are and what they say. And in order for us to be better storytellers and stewards of those signs, we're embarking on a whole volunteer-driven GPS survey of those signs. So I'll sign you all up later after this, okay? We also were able to, just last month, install 5 new interpretive signs with support from the National Park Service about civil rights history in Prince George's County. This was just a remarkable project that we worked on with the County Black History Project. The research, as it should, took years. Getting the permits and the utilities and the land agreements maybe took longer than it could have, but the research was there, and it didn't stop during COVID. So I want to thank the researchers on that. Please go out and see the signs. They're in Laurel, Upper Marlboro, also in Brentwood, and we've got a couple more we're hoping to install. It's also all online in English and in Spanish, so please check that out at pgccivilrights.org. I'll end with those two projects, but take a look at our website for those things. Along with the projects that we've been able to take on with our small staff, but our very capable board, is we continue to be a grant maker and also a grant liaison to funds at the state level. So turn on sign, flash, ask me about grants, okay? So we have access to grants at the Maryland Historical Trust, who are great supporters, and also because we're a state heritage area, Maryland Heritage Area Authority. So if either of those names are new to you, please come up and ask me, because we want to make sure that our county is tapping into those state grants and that they continue to invest in Prince George's County, specifically for cultural tourism. And then, if tonight really isn't proof enough of how special the preservation community is in Prince George's County, and one of the strongest in the state. I used to work at Preservation Maryland. So what I've been able to observe here in Prince George's County, we have grants to private property owners, which is a really important program that other counties do not have, and that's administered through the commission. We are one of only 13 heritage areas in the state, again, giving our museums and historic sites access to that cultural tourism funding. We have a treasure trove of historians from across the country and across the world that have come to MNC-PPC properties in order to be historic site managers, to lend their time and talents and skill. We also have, if you're not following them, you've got to find out about all the hands-on preservation work happening at these historic sites. Historic trades is on the tip of everybody's tongue between employment and also need. So Prince George's County, again, something really to be prideful of, and something we've been doing for a long time before it's been on the top of everybody's mind. And then as of December, but also a very public launch today, we now have a national heritage area. And can we clap for that? So Southern Maryland National Heritage Area, which includes Calvert, St. Mary's, Charles, and the southern band of Prince George's County, is now recognized as a national heritage area. It is going to allow our historic sites, museums, cultural institutions, etc., to tap into now national funding to make sure that our research is correct, we're interpreting it correctly and inclusively, and that we're getting people to continue to support the tourism industry in Prince George's County and Southern Maryland, where it's incredibly important. I also want to make the note that today at the event, as far as I could tell, there was equal representation from leaders of the state of Maryland and leaders of the Piscataway Conoy tribe. Clap for that. So again, as history and the act of history and the act of preserving and the tools that we use in order to make this work happen, we're looking at it differently. And this process, just by that simple tally of who was there today and who's representing and who's here in this room, is that a lot of our work is continuing with more inclusion and a lot more intent, and intent to be inclusive. So how about that? It's also just incredibly wonderful to see the enthusiasm and the momentum. And certainly now with a state heritage area and a national heritage area, certainly something we can all be proud of, our efforts behind the scenes and in front of the scenes to research, thankless work. So thank you. To preserve, also to promote our shared diverse history. So with that, I encourage you to both continue to visit and support, to create and question Prince George's County history. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Megan. And it was great to hear about not only activities at Athens, the local level, but the very exciting event that took place earlier today down at Piscataway Park. And thank you to those of you who are here, who were there, made time for both events in your schedule today. Next, I'd like to ask Professor Don Linebaugh of the Historic Preservation Program at the University of Maryland to come up. Don is a mentor of mine, my former historic preservation professor, probably the first person I met when I decided to pursue a career in it. And he is the former professor of many members of staff on the Park and Planning. So Don is going to give just a little bit update on the program and present an award to someone who I'm very proud about because she was our intern for the past academic year. Don.
Thank you. Good evening, Prince George's Preservation. What a beautiful night to preserve, right? On behalf of Dean Dawn Jordan and the entire School of Architecture, Planning, and Preservation, I bring you greetings from College Park and from our students. I got a couple of quick announcements. One is after 20 years, I'm stepping down as leader of the program, and we have just hired a new director, Dr. Susan Kern, who is going to be coming to us from Williamsburg, where she taught at the College of William and Mary and ran the Historic Campus program, which includes the 1693 Wren Building, the oldest academic building in the country. So you will see her next year at this event. So I hope you'll welcome her here. I also want to say, and I'm very proud of this, we just graduated 13 new preservation students, right? Yesterday. That's what it's about, right? We need young people to come into this. As I can say that as a 65-year-old, right, who's toward the end of his career, we need the new folks coming in to take preservation to new places. And we've had students this year doing just that in Prince George's County. Janet Adesina, who is an international preservation student from Nigeria, is working on doing 3D scanning and documentation of the Baptist Church in the Lakeland community. And Janet is going to be interning for the MNCPPC's Historic Preservation section this summer. Francesca Mazzano just graduated this week and she's doing 3D scanning and documentation on the North Brentwood AME Church. Justin Mohammadi, a dual degree student in applied anthropology and historic preservation, has been working on processing all of the artifacts from an excavation at the Henry Randall House, which was the first home built in what would become North Brentwood. And Justin actually also just gave a paper on that work at the National Conference of the Society for American Archaeology, so taking the story of Prince George's County to the nation, which is important. Paul Albert, who also just graduated and who will be continuing in our PhD program, has been working on mapping historic resources in Prince George's County as part of the university's 1856 project. Olivia Mione, an anthropology undergraduate and who will be joining us as a graduate student in the fall, has been also finishing up doing 3D documentation of outbuildings at the Concord plantation. And finally, my postdoctoral associate, Dr. Stefan Wolke, taught a class this semester where they developed, working with the community, they developed a tour on the history of entrepreneurship in North Brentwood. So amazing student projects right here in Prince George's County. And our students have been working beyond the county as well. A National Register nomination of the Korean Legation Building in DC, a community study of the African American community of Linden or Littonsville in Montgomery County. And then finally, a preservation plan in Arlington, Virginia for the home of Zitkala Za, who was an early 20th century advocate for indigenous rights and one of the real movers and shakers of women doing advocacy for Native Americans in the 20th century. So just amazing projects. I hope you'll give our students a big hand. And finally, my real job here is to present the Prince George's Heritage Fellowship Award. And this year, that award, which is funded through an endowment given by Prince George's Heritage, is Tabitha Gold. Tabby, come on forward. So Tabby, who also graduated this week, yesterday, in fact, right? One of our newly minted preservationists, has been working in the County Planning and Preservation Office as part of her graduate assistantship. And the Prince George's Heritage Fellowship Award goes to somebody who has been doing outstanding work for preservation in the county, and there's nobody that richly deserves it more than Tabby. So please join me in a big hand for her. She already got the handout. So with that, thank you very much. You bet. You bet. Thank you, and look forward to Susan Kern in this place next year. And let's go preservation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Don. It is always great to hear about what students are doing and recent graduates are doing in historic preservation. And it was so exciting for Tabby to get that award. As Don said, she was an intern in our office for the past academic year and really did do some great work for county preservation. She was in there digging through land records for our cemeteries. She was reviewing historic area work permits, tax credit applications. She really did the full scope of work that we do. And we are sad to say goodbye to her. We know that she's got an exciting position coming up. And we are also excited, as Don said, to welcome, starting next Tuesday, Janet Adesina as our summer intern. And we hope that through her work with our office, she will be able to continue the work that she is doing, for example, the project in Lakeland, which is so very interesting. So I'm just going to say a couple of words because there is more food and there's more drink inside, and we want it to go. But I would like to ask Ed Day, my co-pilot and co-conspirator for the evening, to come up to the front if he could. So I just wanted to say a couple of words of thanks, because this an event like this, especially after not having done it for 4 years, we had to kind of oil the gears and see how things ran. And there were so many people who were involved. Before I get to them, I want to thank all of you. I hope that you have seen, not only with the crowd that is around you, but also the speakers that you've heard, all the facets there are to historic preservation, not only in Prince George's County, but writ large. And we are very, very proud of the historic preservation program that we have and the part that we play in it. So I'm going to turn it over to Ed in just a moment. Ed is the Chief Preservation Officer for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Again, I'm the supervisor of the Historic Preservation section in the Planning Department. Ed, I know, is going to say big words of thanks to all his colleagues in the Parks Department. So I'm going to focus my thanks on my colleagues in the Planning Department, starting with the staff in the Historic Preservation section. They're here this evening. They've been checking you in, giving you name badges, writing name badges if I lost your RSVP. Amelia Chisholm and Daniel Tana, Dr. Jennifer Stabler, and Tyler Smith. Thank you for the work that you've done this evening and the work that you do in our section. They're just a great group of people to work with. I've been with the commission about 7 years and supervisor of the section for just a few months, but it is great to work with that group. I also want to thank some of the other members of the Planning Department staff who worked so hard to make this happen and make it look good, frankly. So Carly Brockington and Shannon Sonnet in our publication shop, when you see things that look like they were professionally done, that's because we have great people that know how to do things like that. So the signs that you see out front and right here, thank you to Carly and Shannon for putting up with not only my requests, but my edits. I also want to thank Dwayne Williams, because you can, Dwayne Williams is in our office services section, and you can design everything you want, but unless it's printed out, it doesn't do you much good. So thank you, Dwayne, again, for printing all the wonderful programs and all the other printed materials that you see here. And I want to thank, and I know that Chair Shapiro always likes to recognize the man behind the camera, Ryan Cron. And so thank you, Ryan, for the still photography and for the video of this, which will get posted to YouTube. So look out for that.
Let's do this together. I'm reading his list here. Are you there?
There's a reason for this.
Okay.
You just got to hang out.
Oh, okay.
So Ed,
no,
you've got your whole staff. But I just want to say, I know that Ed is going to give a big shout out to the site, but I just want to pre-associate myself with the remarks that he's going to say in gratitude to Sharon Williams and the staff at Oxon Hill Manor, because all the tables that we're sitting at, all the things you see is because of them. They do a great job at the site every day and for events like this every day. So thank you to the Planning Department staff. It's a collaboration, so I'm going to turn it over to Ed for the last word from Parks and Recreation.
I got nothing to say. How about our MC, our default MC, John Peter Thompson? I'll keep this really brief. My daughter graduated last week from college, and it was a 3-hour, 15-minute ceremony, and everybody's like glued to the seat. It was like done. I was looking for somebody to bring me a cup of coffee afterwards. But I do want to thank the site. I want to thank Sharon again. The division chief for ACHD, Katrina Williams, was here at some point. I don't know if she's still around, but I want to thank her. Jonathan Caudle in the back. But I want to thank my colleagues. The bartender tonight, Gina Vaughn. Where is she? Gina's back there. Actually works on a lot. Gina, could you come down the steps, please? She's going to kill me. She is going to absolutely kill me. Gina Vaughn was your bartender, but she actually worked on all these windows and doors that you see in this house. She's a project manager extraordinaire. Gina Vaughn, everybody. I just want them to see who you are. Take a bow. And then my partner, the other partner in crime, Brian Carroll back there, who's an AIA registered architect. He's a former sitting Montgomery County Preservation Commissioner. He works for us in Prince George's, and so there he is. He just took a bow. And then Susan Reedy, who is the back, there's Brian, who also got our food together. There's just so many, and I've got a contingent over here who could really blackmail me about my days of playing the Capitol Center, but we're not going to go there tonight because that's a long way away in a galaxy far, far away. Thank you so much. We do what we do, preservation-wise, for you, to enjoy. Did you enjoy tonight? Yes. Was the weather great? Awesome. Let's leave it there. Happy Memorial Day weekend. Remember those who had gone before us? I was involved in the Peace Cross restoration. It's always kind of near and dear to my heart. So let's think about those guys on Monday for sure, but enjoy the rest of the weekend. And happy beginning of summer, everybody. Thanks for coming.